All right. What up, man? Welcome back to another episode of Millennials World, man. I got the family tonight. If you don't know who we are by now, you can probably stop watching, honestly. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? We had a good discussion going on. First, Jay said how he enjoyed Chingy. He wish he made a comeback and that he want to go to the
Yo, get
Millennials.
the fuck out of here.
Nah.
Well, you just said Beyonce was better than
Oh,
Jay-Z. We gonna talk about it. Let's talk about it.
nah, but the first thing we talked about off camera that I don't want to I want to get straight into it so nobody forgets. Being single and settling. I know, Brittany, you had something to say about the healing part of that journey. What I said was, I was debating with someone that was saying everybody that gets in a relationship from being single, you're eventually going to settle, or you are settling to get into that relationship. And I feel as if people lie a lot, saying like, "Oh, I'm single, living my best life," and some people may be doing that, but I don't think that's the end goal for everyone. And people use things like you should be healed. My argument is healing is a process. And Brittany has some good thoughts that she wanted to drop on us. So I'm gonna go ahead and just, defer to you right now.
I just made a face. I was trying to figure things out.
So okay. I've been to say because you know me, I you know what I mean. Tell me
Go
now.
ahead. Go ahead. Go
So
ahead.
so for instance, let's take any of the single people up here that would like to speak. I don't think singleness is a choice. And why I don't think that is, take it back to when we 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, dudes and women included. Most people, 90% of people, 95% of people see themselves with having a family, right? You see yourselves with having a career. As you grow and change, you date people, whatever the case may be. And I think now society has made I do what I want, I'm single to be fun. But like I
Mhm.
said, these same people that's on the internet making it look fun, they also texting seven different people when they hit the pillow to see who's gonna say yeah. So
Yeah.
my question to you all is singleness something that's necessary for an extended period of time? Is it something that some people need to experience to know themselves? Is it something you need to do while you're healing? Or is single just what you are in between relationships, if that makes sense? And I'll defer to whoever would like to take that. Either way you want to go with it.
Go ahead, Asia, because I already know we didn't have many conversations about
I
singleness.
I
like
would definitely let one
there's
of the
so many
ladies speak.
things to like, that I could say to that. One of the things I'll say is I do think that everybody does need a period of singleness. I think it is essential. I think, and let me preface, like, start this by saying, like, I do think that you learn a lot about yourself in the context of relationships. I
Mhm.
do believe that. But at the same time, I think in order to know if you've healed from certain things or not, to know what you like, what you don't like, to know how you stand on your own, and to just experience life in a different way, to not have to be responsible or conscious really of another person, I think you
Mhm.
should be single, for because it's different when you're in a relationship than when you're single. You see life completely different. Like, you can have those, Keenan, to your point, you can have those 5 different people that you're texting at night and be cool with that. You know what I'm saying? If you're in a relationship, you have to be conscious about, like, dang, is this old person going to show up? Like, how am I showing up in the
Mhm.
world? How am I representing us as a whole? Am I building together with my person? But but as a single person, it's like, okay, what goals do I have for myself? What am I doing for myself? Right.
Mhm.
Because I think then if you're constantly in a relationship, that you can be codependent, and then never know who you are. And then you feel like you're not a complete person without another person attached to you. And that's crazy, because then I feel like you compromise a lot of who you are, who you could be, um, when you're constantly attaching yourself to another person.
When would you say that moment of singleness needs to happen? In your youth? And because for instance, right?
Mhm.
Uh
Mhm.
So let me just ask the question. When do you feel like that moment or that season of singleness is most effective to learning yourself? Because I got a little rebuttal to that, but I want to know do you understand what the question I'm asking?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
when you in
You
college
saying that they're more important, like when you're younger in college? Like,
versus,
is that what you're saying? Versus,
yeah,
okay.
or do you need to be single or have a season of aloneness when you're late 20s to figure that out? Or when do y'all think that season should be, if you believe it should be at all?
I don't think it should be at all. I personally think that that time can come at any time for anybody. I feel like the problem with society now is we constantly stamping things on it like a time frame, like a set time
Mhm.
for us,
Mhm.
when really that can happen when I'm 40, when I'm 50, when I'm 30, 20, whatever it is. People are constantly evolving and changing all the time. So why are we than to kind of say like, okay, when in your 20s, you should focus on you and grow and learn. No, I'm constantly growing. I'm constantly needing, you know, seasons of singleness, if you will, to understand what it is that I'm looking for in a partner for the future. So that can be anytime.
Are you saying you can't learn yourself while in a relationship?
No, you absolutely can, but you're learning yourself while in a relationship. That's the problem. You're learning yourself to somebody else. You're not learning yourself for yourself, right? So it's kind of like you got to deal with somebody else's feelings, somebody else's stuff, really.
Right.
When you can focus on your own stuff. Like, do I really like this, or am I doing this for him or her or whatever it is? You can't focus fully on self when you have somebody else in the picture.
Right.
Okay.
And I think, I mean, I think personally you can, in my opinion, I think you can focus on yourself when you have somebody else in the picture as well. I think, in my opinion, both people just have to be willing and understanding that, hey, we're both on an individual journey and then we have our journey together. So how do we sit there and say, okay, we still have to learn and grow as individuals, obviously, whether it should have been before we got together, whatever, but now we're at a period to where we acknowledge, okay, what do I like to do? What do you like to do? What do we like to do individually? So that way, when we come together, our time is more powerful and you don't feel like you said, oh, I got to take this person into consideration or this into consideration. How I personally look at it is like, if like the people nowadays that want to be single, that's completely fine. I agree with what Asia was saying. You can have 4, 5, 6, 7 different people calling. It's weird to me that some single people now are still codependent. And I don't understand. And it's like people want to be single, but they talk to these 5, 6, 7 different people and they still doing relationship stuff. And it's like, to me, it's just like you technically just don't want the responsibility or the label of what that is. It's just more so like you just like, oh, okay, well, because if you say I'm in a relationship, you know what that comes with. But when you say, hey, I'm single, but I'm talking to these 5 people, yeah, but if those 5 people don't call you, are you really working on yourself and really building yourself? Or are you sitting here thinking, why are these 5 people not calling?
So
That's it.
Princess,
Hold
I'm
on,
sorry,
real
go ahead,
quick.
Asia, I'm sorry.
Because something I was thinking too, like as you were saying that, Jay, like it makes you think about if you're single, right? And you're only, let's say like you still have like these rotation of dudes, right? For like ladies. But if you don't have any healthy like relation, like platonic relationships around you, I'm gonna look at you a little crazy. Because then it's like to your point, it's like, okay, yeah, so you're still only focusing on romantic relationships.
Right.
You're not focusing on the other types of relationships that build who you are, right? That you can learn all these different things. It's like, who is your support system outside of like a dude? You know what I'm saying? Or like somebody that you're trying to be romantic with. And I think that kind of, I just thought about that as you were talking, Jay, because I think that's an issue.
Yeah, because I don't think people really are focusing on really working on their self. What does that mean and look like? Like, because you can see people that's been single for 5, 6, 7 years, and then you look at them, they still look the same way they did when they was in a relationship for 5 years. Like, so what was the point? You should have just stayed there, you know?
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Princess, you got anything, or you want us to keep moving?
I feel like we touched on so many different topics, but to what you just said, I feel like you have to be super intentional about it. When you said, what does that look like for you? Because you could be single for 5 years and then still be the same person that you was when you started the journey 5 years ago. But I think everything is about intentionality and just taking the process serious. And as far as healing is concerned, I don't feel like you have to be fully healed to get into a relationship with somebody, but you should be healed to a certain point so that you're not starting things off toxic from the jump. But that just looks different, you know, for everybody. But I do feel like people, to your original point, I do feel like people use it as an excuse, like, you know, well, everybody out here just not healed and this and this why I'm just gonna stay single. But it's just really like, do you want to try to be in a relationship, or like, are you really happy? I think that's basically what you're getting at, like people just using excuses instead of just really making an effort and putting themselves out there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought are you done? My bad, Princess.
No, I'm asking you, was that like basically what you were saying?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's
like,
what I was saying. Yes. Yeah. And to go further on that point, it's like this. I absolutely agree that there's a moment. Well, for me, I didn't have a crazy super long single season. I think my self-awareness obviously isn't where it is now, but I think I knew enough of what I wanted or how I envisioned myself, and I looked up finding that person early, right? But the other side of that is this, like, you're going to have to switch something. You find yourself. You do, absolutely. But my personal opinion, the longer you did take a deep dive into selfishness, you learn yourself, you gain all these things, career-wise, material-wise, whatever you want to go through, you're less likely to want to sacrifice what you built. And every relationship takes sacrificing. So, like,
that's true.
So to me, there's a very small window of, like, I know enough of myself that I can give myself and not lose myself. And as I continue through that journey, I learn things that I'm doing, moving, or what I don't like, what I do like, because now I think we're crossing over to people getting the bag really early in careers. When our parents were in their careers, we probably making the money they were making in their 40s and 50s now in our 30s, right? So we're buying our homes 10, 15 years or on our own 10, 15 years and being sustainable a lot sooner than they were, right? So our frame of mind changes instantly. That's why I like the instant gratification of, like, there's a lot of millennials scratching at the 75, 80, 85, 100 mark. And that was unheard of when we were growing up with who raised us. So now in your singleness and you learning are you really going to give up the things you like doing at that lifestyle to create a bigger life with somebody else? Because contrary to belief, it ain't no plan that work after you say I do. So something going to change regardless of said thing. So do you all feel like the fear of the unknown, when you've invested so much in yourself, the fear of the unknown is controlling us more than the potential gain from being with somebody else? I know I was long-winded, my fault.
I think it's the fear of the unknown, and then also, to your point, how things are, different than when we were raised. Like, once you go through a long period of singleness and then you become so independent to a certain point, I feel like that level of, I'm not going to deal with this because I don't have to and because I can on my own, that kind of comes into play, because it's just like, why when I don't have to? So I definitely feel like times have changed, and I feel like that's good to a certain point, but at the same time, you can't let it blind you where you just think that we were made to live in this world alone and that we don't need anybody. We don't need companionship. That's where I feel like society is headed.
So let me ask
you. Be independent to a fault, basically.
And Asia, you were about to say something. I know you said yes, and then were you going to say more than that about to the question?
I mean, my main point was just say yes. But I do think, and I think a lot of times you'll hear, like, at least for women, I know we're like, well, for the right man, and I think it's like a lot of us are willing, no matter where we are, though. I think we say, like, if it's for the right person, right? That, and for whatever criteria that is. And it's like, all right, I'll give up this, or I'll be willing to do this, or because they want to show, love in whatever way that feels good for that man. Right.
Right.
And so I think that for women that have not found themselves, though, to a point, they tend to resent the male later on if they haven't had that season, because, like, well, it's like, well, I've been doing all this for you, and what do I have left for me? Like, I think even thinking back, like with my mom, like for her, it was, as she got older, it was like, dang, like, I do love my kids, but, like, I made all these sacrifices, you know what I mean? And so I think even now, like, even think of how I am. there are certain things I'm like, I'm good here. This is, what I do for my career, But like, all right, if Ryan comes along, like, I'll make certain sacrifices. And I'm in that situation right now, and I'm like, but I think it takes, and I've had this conversation, it takes, on the women's side that's attracted to men, it takes, like, a man's man, though. Like, I need a manly man that I think can like lead, and that it would make sense for me to make certain sacrifices. Because if not, I'm not doing it for a little boy.
So what does that look like then? A manly man that can lead?
So someone that is, like, I feel like I need someone that I can learn from, right?
Mhm.
So it's like, so to Prince's point, like there are certain things that I can do on my own, very much so.
Mhm.
There's also things that I don't understand, like I don't fully understand. I'm learning this, like how to love a man, right? Because I need to have those conversations about the male perspective. So I need somebody that I can feel emotionally safe with. If I don't feel emotionally safe with you, sorry, certain things I'm not going to do. If I don't feel like you can provide for me or see me, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm in a relationship right now, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I feel too seen today, you know? And it's because he's like, no, like I hear you, but and also like I see you, you know, and I need to I would have to be with somebody that can see me beyond what I'm just saying, or, you know, like I feel like I can talk to about certain things, you know. But somebody that I can trust to build something with,
Okay.
that has been able to do that on his own.
Respect.
Yeah.
Brittany, Jay, y'all got anything on that?
I think to add to what she was saying, is that like in a situation like that, when you guys say like a manly man and different things, and because we're all, you know, different, we learn different. So for example, to add to your point, as a man, the first thing we do if you're having a conversation with us, we're thinking of solution. So if you're talking to me, I'm thinking of a solution to your problem. I'm not thinking from your perspective, you just want me to listen to what you're saying and validate what you're saying. So I had to learn that because I'm so solution driven that it's like, all I'm hearing is you telling me this is going on. So I'm thinking, okay, ways that I need to fix this. But I think in doing that, it kind of shuts the woman off and makes it feel like, okay, he's not listening to me. So I think once you learn those different things in your relationship, even though it may seem small to certain people, it makes a woman feel more emotionally protected, and you know, she wants to share more things with you because she's like, okay, he gets me, he understands me. And now on the other spectrum, that's like you trying to learn your man, and you know that I'm solution driven, so you know certain things you may not have to communicate that, because the first thing I'm gonna think of is, okay, how do I fix the situation? So knowing those things. The one thing I can say is, not you haven't said this, but certain women say like, oh, I'll be feminine for the right guy, or I'll
my
sit here and
God.
I'll submit to the right.
Oh
Like
my God.
when men and women say that, I don't understand that, because like if a man said that to a woman, like y'all out here on the street, a car about to hit you, or somebody come up to you, and it's like, listen, we cool, but I'm not about to exercise my masculinity for you because I ain't really feeling like, you know what I'm saying? Like ain't no
Okay.
woman really gonna be feeling that.
Yeah.
So it's like I think when we say those things, we really have to think of the bigger picture of like, come on, y'all, like, what are we really picking and choosing here? Because if a man was picking and choosing that, like, hey, I'm gonna be masculine with this woman at this particular time, I don't think women would appreciate that.
Okay.
But I don't think it's necessarily about being feminine. I think it's really the submit part that people pair them together, and they're not really the same thing.
Right.
But people like to intertwine them.
So
like
I'm sorry,
to
go
your
ahead,
point,
Princess.
like you're still going to be masculine with whatever. I don't know if you need to jump out in front of a car, and a woman's still going to be feminine, but that still doesn't mean that the submission piece, like just because you're masculine doesn't mean that a woman is going to submit.
So
Right.
I agree wholeheartedly. And the other side of that to me is like there's going to come a time where a very single, productive, thriving woman is going to have to acknowledge the things that she wants to release versus like the things she's doing right now because she has to. And a lot of times, I think from what I see, not from what I see legitly, and this is like 90% off the internet, a lot of times women don't separate what they have to do with what, you know what I'm saying, what they have to do with who they are. Like naturally, there are things some women wouldn't care to do, but they got to do it because they live on their own. They're, you know what I mean? They're out here. So I think the thing becomes for dudes is like, which way do I fit in? Because with the feminine or masculine argument that I think is very hard for dudes right now, specifically millennials, is that like vulnerability, right? You got to touch into a different side of masculine or some femininity to be able to open up like that, right? But how do you find that balance of that in order to be the right amount of vulnerability where your woman feels like she's getting enough of your deep thoughts so she knows where you at all the time, right? So learning the balance of, and I'm not saying being vulnerable is feminine. What I'm saying is to be in tune with your emotions, there comes a certain level of femininity that comes with that, to me personally. And we are having a hard time acknowledging the fact that, like, yeah, that's gonna make me sound like a hoe. I'm not gonna say that. So I'm gonna say this. But
Mhm.
but in the same note, a woman to say, like, oh, I need him, I do this. But in reality, you're only doing it because you have to. Like,
Right.
you're using it,
Mm.
but they use it as a thing or as a standard that's like, oh, I need him, I want, like, I do this. So that, but just saying reality, oh no, I'm sticking to moving like this because I got to. I would gladly give these things up. And I don't think a lot of women put it out there that, no, if he could do this, cool. Instead of trying to act like it's a who's better and independent. You
Mhm.
see what I mean?
Mhm.
So I think that's where the static comes between single men and single women, because they start comparing who's doing more, who's thriving more, versus like, if I lived on my own, I'm not going to be cooking like that. That ain't going to happen. And I'm not going to get on the first day acting like, oh yeah, I cook every night. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, what? No, I'm not doing that. So, in you guys' opinion, what is killing the communication between men and women when it comes to this feminine, masculine vulnerability thing? Because that's where I feel like we're missing each other the most.
Mhm.
I don't know how to put it in words, but
Okay.
there's a lack of trust. Because I feel like in order to be vulnerable, you have to trust whoever it is, that you're dealing
Mhm.
with. So like if I'm super independent and I can do this for myself, but in reality,
Mhm.
like you said, I really don't want to do all of those things for myself. I
Mhm.
wish somebody would come take some things off my plate. But you have to come along with that energy that lets me know I can get it done. Because nothing frustrates somebody who does all the things for themselves all the time than somebody coming in and playing around.
Mhm.
Don't come in telling me you can do this and then you don't execute. So I have to be able to trust you that I can actually release. But you have to be vulnerable enough to even want to trust somebody, to give somebody a chance.
Mhm.
What if he wanted to do he didn't know how to do the thing you want to release, but he's willing to learn? Are you willing to teach him?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
absolutely. That's
Oh.
that's a given because so I'm just listening to y'all because I'm having a difficult time with these questions only because well let me not say that. Only because from what I know, right, and folks that I know in my life, it's different. I hear y'all saying like they're comfortable being single or whatever the ask is. The folks that I know, they're like looking for a man left and right, like willing to marry anything that comes their way at this point in life.
Not
So
anything.
I just like I hope they're listening because they're not okay with being single. It's not like, oh, I'm putting on a facade, I don't need nobody. No, they really out here like, yo, I'm about to date this one, I'm about to date that one. And that brings this gonna turn the conversation to a whole different direction.
Come
But
on.
It's all right.
Come on.
finding yourself, like going back to defining what finding yourself looks like, what it looks like, I think for my people, they defined it a little differently, and it's kind of you raise the standards almost, and it's like, hold on, those are not standards that you even live up to. So now you out here looking for niggas that can do X, Y, and Z, but you don't do none of that.
But
That's crazy.
are you telling them that?
Huh?
Are you telling them that?
Oh, I wouldn't be a friend if I wasn't telling them that.
Oh, okay.
Right.
All
How you
right,
gonna
cool.
be single forever if
Oh, all right.
you setting the bar, setting the bar way too high, but it's only because of what's being painted out here in the world on social
Mhm.
media, what it looks like. Lo, I'm not selling for that. Dudes need to pay for my hair and my nails. Dudes not walking around here paying for hair and nails just because it doesn't. You can't have these expectations. Like people love to get away from the, oh, what you bringing to the table, that whole conversation or whatever.
Mhm.
But it's kind of like y'all are living by these standards of really going on first dates, what you bringing to the table. I found myself, I know me, I know my worth. You're not bringing anything. So it's really hard for me to kind of relate to some of the things that y'all are saying because I'm having the reverse of this conversation, right? And kind of what that looks like. So I don't know. I don't know. Those are my 2 cents. Hi, Lewis.
I agree.
What up,
What up,
Lewis?
Lewis? You're mute.
What's up, y'all? How y'all doing, man? My apologies on being tardy.
All
Same
good,
me.
No,
brother.
you
All
good,
good.
man.
So we'll just keep rapping, Lewis. You hop in where you see fit, brother. So Brittany, so a couple things, right? I'm
Mhm.
going to go on a limb and say 20% of women friends are like that, telling their friends like, yeah, I don't know if you need to be the one that's presenting this standard the way because you ain't living that way, regardless. You understand what I'm saying? I'm going to go on a limb and say that. You feel me? Because I'm gonna tell you why. Most women, first
Say
day
it
back,
lightly, boy.
first day back.
Well, go
Mhm.
go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Most women who are stuck in their singleness that
Mhm.
have friends around them. I'm not even going to say I'm moving away from saying successful marriages to healthy marriages because success looks different for everybody, right? So
Mhm.
most women, say if you got a friend that's in a healthy marriage, most
Mhm.
time women that are stuck in their singleness don't want to hear what that woman has to say because it's
Mhm.
going to be complete opposite of what they think it takes to be in a real healthy relationship. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
Mhm.
excuse me, I'm past saying marriage is the goal. I'm married. I like being married. I don't think everybody wants to. That doesn't bother me. But I see a lot in real life, not online, where a lot of women who are stuck in singleness don't want to hear it for real from a woman who's like in a healthy relationship and thriving in it. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Because there's certain single ways that don't work. They just don't. And there's a lot of singleness that's not sustainable. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
that's like 20% of friends that say that. The second part is how many of your friends, never mind, because they're gonna hear this. A lot of times, in my experience and what I see,
Hey, look, he want us to treat him like the pastor. Go ahead, pastor. Say it. Say it anyway, pastor.
no, because friends
Get it
is
out,
ahead.
man.
when she's I'm asking this. How many of those women were the reason why they're not in the relationship they wanted to be, and now they looking for any and everything because they messed off the relationship that could have been what they wanted now? Does that make sense?
Meaning that the relationship ended because it was their fault.
That's a little
Saying
harsh.
like
That's
the
what
like
that's what he's asking.
Okay.
Okay,
Now,
so
Princess ain't been ad-libbing all night. And then she
I'm
I
just
think
saying, that's what
I
you're
think I
saying.
get the
So
question.
say again.
Go ahead, Asia.
No, I was saying I think I get the question. Mm, okay. So I think that because I feel two ways about it, right?
Okay.
So the first way I think it's like, yes, sometimes there, the woman is at fault, right? Like I'm thinking about a time where I felt like, you know what, there's certain things that I could have done better in this relationship, and I played a role in why it didn't end. And why it did end, right? So for me, once again, learning yourself in the context of relationships, I didn't know I was insecure about certain things until I got
right.
into a relationship. And then I became very insecure about a lot of things. And I'm like, what the heck? Wait a minute. I wasn't like this before. But when I got in
Yeah.
the context of a relationship, that's where I'm like, oh, shoot, I am insecure about this. Okay, wait, why did he say it like that? Why am I feeling a way about this? Right. And because of that, I started to feel it was something new to me. I didn't even know that about myself. Right. So for me, on that end, I put a lot of pressure on him as far as like wanting him to like be this like magical man that made all of my insecurities go away, when that shouldn't have been his responsibility, right? And for me, because there were a lot of things that there was so much pressure on me, I was like, okay, so like I think he was talking about marriage and like wanting to get married like within the first couple months we were together, right? And so after that, I took that as like, okay, so every chance I had, I'm bringing up marriage. I'm bringing up this and that. Because you said I didn't have the expectation. You brought it to my attention in my forefront. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, I'm thinking like there are certain things for sure that I think as you grow with somebody, you do, once again, you learn about yourself. And there are certain things that if it's new to you, like it was new for me, I didn't even know how to navigate that. I didn't know how to navigate this new version of myself or part of myself that I didn't even know existed before I was in that relationship. You know what I mean? So for me, it's like, yeah, I had to learn that. But and also, he had some stuff going on with himself too. And that also played a role into the breakdown.
That's exactly why, and I'm gonna let you finish, but that's exactly why I said earlier that you cannot find self with somebody else for those specific reasons. Because you realize your insecurities and all this other stuff, then you realize he had his own baggage, and it's hard for y'all to navigate a relationship when you're literally carrying loads on your back. So that's the only reason why I said it's better to do it by yourself than try to do it.
But how was she?
I think you. Oh,
I'm sorry, Jay. Go ahead, bro.
I think you. I agree with what you're saying to a certain extent too, Brittany. I still think, like I said, it's ways that you could, work through it. It's going to be very tough though. But I think that, like y'all said, you do have to find yourself individually. But at the same time, I think it goes back to what Princess was saying. You have to trust that person, and in order to be vulnerable enough to bring those insecurities to the table. And when it comes back to, like you said, AJ, it's not their job to fully fix all of that stuff, right? And do all that. But it is an obligation, because you have a partner, to say, okay, this is an insecurity that they have. Let me respect that boundary and say, okay, what are ways that we can work through this? You have a trust issue because the 15 guys or whatever cheated on you, right? So when somebody doesn't answer the phone,
why I have to have 15? You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. 15.
Not you specifically.
Wow.
Okay, my bad.
Right.
That was a bit aggressive.
AJ, he just told you exactly what he thought about you right then.
Right, you know what I'm saying? Like, I felt that. Wow.
Okay. Nah, don't do that. Don't do that. You crazy.
And this is why women are not vulnerable.
What I'm saying is, like,
thank you.
Hey, look, there you go. You
need to get into your femininity, Jay.
We're gonna talk through it. That's all right. We're gonna talk through it. You can't shut down on me. I ain't worried about it.
Hey, Lewis, that joke said the 15 duds that cheated.
He did. He said 15.
Almighty.
It was a bit aggressive.
May I interject? With my tardiness?
Yeah.
I like the quote, you can't find oneself with someone else, but I think I get the vulnerability and understanding and ensuring that you trust the individual that you're with, because they can manipulate that, right? The fact that you don't know, who you are, who you may want to be, and then project onto you and say things are wrong. But I think the finding oneself is a constant journey. So I think to completely put it in an absolute form as to when, as I know this is a cliche, time is a construct, but there is no time frame, as it's a constant journey that we're on. I think for me personally, understanding the responsibility I have to me and who I choose to bring into my life forces me to identify and search within myself to identify what it is that, may be causing these experiences and triggering these emotions from whatever may occur. So I did want to touch on that, because I did hear that, and I do understand what it means, because you can be selfish in finding yourself, and I think sometimes you do need to be selfish in finding yourself, right? But I think that since that journey is constant, I think that it's really your individual responsibility in knowing how you're going to approach that journey.
So, and my question would be to Brittany. Well, it's my question to what you said, but to Asia's situation with that, she finds that insecurity being with someone, right? So, my first thing would be, wish she would have ever found that if she didn't date him, correct? And then the second part of that is the solution. So Lewis said it and made me think about it. I think it's the have to be single or should be in order to, because like if she communicates that, I've learned this as a result of us being together, and you see this going somewhere, maturity will let him give her space in that area to figure out what that looks like for her. You see what I'm saying? So even though say she's done it and there's going to be some type of influence from his end because she's with him, she can still learn how to handle that insecurity for Asia while being with them. And if they break up, those tools still apply to handling that insecurity. The only time it doesn't is when the person you're with created the insecurity and didn't show it to you, if that makes sense. Like if he was naturally doing something and Asia was like, whoa, I don't like the way that makes me feel, versus him doing some emotional abuse or whatever the case may be to like make her insecure, then you're going to need some singleness to figure out how to handle when people are like that, because that person is causing it.
Yeah, well, I think you're going to need some singleness regardless, because let's say to the point that you just made, Asia figures out whatever it is. Sorry, Asia, for using you today, sis.
Right.
Yeah. Forgive Jay.
she's still gonna, God, if that relationship doesn't work out, right? If she goes and latches on to the next good thing that comes her way without going through that whole season of singleness, if you will, those insecurities, y'all don't think those insecurities are gonna float over. That's what I mean by needing that individual time and not growing with the next person, right? So we all gotta date people. We all gotta go through stuff to learn things about us. If we never went through nothing, we would never know. So I feel like, yes, you can, certain people can point out things about you that you did not know. And maybe you are willing to go through certain things with certain people and they teach you whatever, but every relationship is a lesson. I know now for my next relationship, oh, I didn't like that, I'm not dealing with that, or I know that I'm capable of, I know my worth, basically. So when I look for, I need to go through a phase of just being by myself, figuring crap out before I jump into the next relationship and take what I learned from my previous one before jumping into the next one. I think that's what I meant in terms of going through that journey alone for a little bit versus doing it with the next. You literally just, because you become codependent, like we talked about earlier.
So Brittany, can I ask you a question? I'm sorry, you know what I'm saying, but you made me think about something. Can we agree that worth and value mean the same thing? Like, you know your worth, you know your value?
Yeah.
Say you meet, not Brittany, Earth, not, well, it can be you, but Earth 90. You meet somebody, you know your worth, you know your value, you're really into this person, but your worth and value does not bring what they need. Do you not date that person, or do you readjust and figure out how you can bring? Because everything is working out good right now. When you get past dates and you kind of starting to get into that intimate time and learning someone on another level, the things that you do, I'm not saying they're not valuable, but it's kind of like the love language thing where if I'm a gift giver, but you like quality time, it's not landing. So for anyone, if you know your worth, you know your value, dating someone, you get to know them and you realize the worth and value you have does not meet the needs of that person, does that get to shift? Or is it like, I don't need to be with this person?
No, I think it ties back into compatibility. You can't force a square through a circle. So if it doesn't work, there's no sense in me trying to make things work. I'm not going to change who I am or lower my values or my worth for somebody else. Now, then people love to say like, oh, but the right man, we just said this, the right person comes along, you'll make some changes and stuff. But that's where compromise, that's the thin line between compromise and sacrifice in your relationship. There's a lot of things. I'm not sacrificing my worth and my value for anybody, but I will compromise some things to make sure that the relationship is healthy. That way we can see eye to eye. That's it. Whatever. That's the way that I think I can just define it the best.
Princess, what's your thoughts?
Well, I agree with what Britt just said about compatibility.
Because Princess be getting off just being quiet, listening to everybody, looking at her nails and stuff. Nah.
And then she did a little gremlin laugh.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I got a good follow-up too. I'm about to start some stuff. Sorry, Asia, Brittany, and Prince. I apologize.
What I was thinking when Brittany was talking, I definitely agree with her that you do need a season of singleness, like she was saying, because you're going to end up bringing those things into another relationship. But that doesn't mean that it has to be a long period of time. It really just depends on what the insecurities are, what it is that you went through in that past relationship. That's going to depend on the amount of time that's going to take. It could be 6 months, could be a year, could be a couple years. Like it really just depends. But I do think I agree with Brittany that season is necessary because, like she says, if you don't deal with it alone, you are going to bring it into the next relationship. And that's not necessarily healthy. That's just like if you're in your past relationship, someone cheated on you, that might make you insecure, but you need to deal with that on your own, because in the next relationship, you can't go into that relationship making him pay for what the last man did to you because he cheated on you. Right. So you have to deal with that by yourself in your singleness and figure out you and your emotions and then move on to that next relationship. So I do feel like that is absolutely necessary.
I just feel like we overvalue cheating. I really feel that way.
You said, what do you mean by that? Who the hell about? Explain.
Well, I didn't hear what he said.
I mean, like, what I mean is, if you do an action, what made me say that was, first of all, like, So Jay get to say 15 people, but I can't. Okay, never mind. All right.
No, you
So-
added value to
you're not
something.
Jay.
Yeah,
No,
You
no,
not
I'm-
Jay.
When I say value, I mean like something have to. Well, maybe value is not the right word, but cheating has to be held to a certain level of something for it to create an insecurity, in my opinion.
It
Meaning
is the
like-
biggest. It is the most. It's the largest breach of trust that can occur in a relationship.
So hold on. In a healthy one. So
Any relationship. Any relationship.
No, it's not, bro. No, it's not. No, it's not.
Cheating is not
No,
just an act.
if you get with somebody and you and they're a certain way, and you
Mhm.
elect to ignore these certain ways, and you already are having those things or those, you know this thing could happen to you. You
Mhm.
see it, you know how they move. You know it's coming. You know you can't trust this person. You know these things are.
Mhm.
Let me get back to what I'm saying, because Lewis done threw me off on something else.
Nah, bro, I'm about to
I mean,
I'm
we
about to
try
destroy
really
that.
understand what you
Hey,
Hey,
mean.
look, because
I'm,
Yeah,
I'm,
I'm about to-
I'm not saying that cheating should happen and be like, okay, whatever. Like, no, I'm not saying that. But let me finish the insecurity thing, and then Lewis, you go in on yours, and then Al, we can go and speak about that, right? So, say you're in a situation where, you've there's been bumpy roads. The relationship came in on bumpy roads. Two people trying to figure it out. You're trying to make it work. You love it, whatever. You're trying to make it work. You're trying to figure it out, right?
all right, come on, Pastor.
And so, what I'm gonna just say what I was saying. I'm not gonna get a scenario. In my opinion, there are certain instances when people cheat and they're dealing with something internally. I'm not going to allow what they're dealing with, what makes them do something stupid, infringe on how I feel about myself. When I know that me or what, I'm not saying that's not for everybody. I'm just saying if someone in a relationship is doing things or not being themselves, going through something, whatever the case may be, things get bumpy. And I personally know, or they've expressed that I know it wasn't me. They're doing something they have no business. I'm not going to say it doesn't bother me. I'm not saying that. I don't think that if I'm confident in who I was in that relationship and what I was bringing and what I was doing, it's going to be hard for me to let that really knock me all the way off of, I know I'm not the reason why, no matter what they try to do or try to say. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. You're saying that them cheating is not a reflection of how I'm feel about me. It's more of a reflection of who they are and their character.
Yes.
That's a male thing.
Say again.
That's a male thing.
Why you say that?
Oh man, we're gonna gender specific this time.
Go ahead, Lewis. Finish your statement.
We definitely getting into that though.
All right, so my whole I get what Keenan's saying. He's like, why do we? It's like almost cheating is like the worst thing that people could do, or that's the thing that really impacts people and drives their behaviors the most in a relationship. But ultimately, there is no relationship without commitment or an agreement amongst two people. And within that agreement, if you agree to have an open relationship, then it's not cheating, right? Cheating is when you both articulated or agreed upon anything, right? This is what we're going to do. We're going to be monogamous. These are the parameters of our relationship. And if someone decides for whatever reason, whether it be their own insecurity or issues or internal issues, when someone breaches that agreement, that breaches the trust and the foundation that it was started upon. So therefore, that's how it's so severe, because upon anything, there is a foundation. And if it's cracked, if it's compromised as a result of someone else, then now you have to go back and start all over again in any scenario. So that's why cheating has so much value, because cheating can never happen unless there is an agreement, unless there is a start, unless there is an understanding that was set forth prior to it actually taking place. Because cheating is a true disruption of what the original intent was behind any relationship. So that's why it's so significant. Okay. You can only cheat by going against something that you've agreed to. So now it changes.
But absolutely agree. But we talking about I'm talking about the cheating leading to an insecurity, not if
I got you.
The relationship.
Okay, absolutely. I'm with you on that.
So I can speak to that though, because I think it is like, let's say to your point, Keenan, right? You're like, all right, well, if it was already toxic and like all that kind of stuff, and people came in with their own things, right? It would still go back to, you chose me, and I'm just saying all this loosely, right? You chose me for a particular reason, right? Whether you were attracted to me, whether we had fun together, whether we had mutual goals and understanding, all this type of stuff, right? So in my mind, that we're here because we're connected on some level, right? For there to be an infiltration from an outside something, that would lead me to think there was something about me that wasn't the whole whatever for you, that it wasn't enough for you, that you had to do that. Whether, like, to the point that you couldn't control yourself, because you can have temptation, sure, temptation is going to come, right? But the fact that you then acted on it, that means that you had to dedicate a certain level of time, whether that was 5 extra minutes or not. You had to dedicate a certain level of communication, a certain level of, things that should have been just between us two. So you actually put in some type of work to then choose somebody over me in that moment. Because either way, you chose them over me in that moment. Whether it was a one night stand, whether you got drunk or whatever, you chose them over me. That's the issue I have.
Oh man, that's true. I hope nobody
that's where
cheats
the
on you.
insecurity comes.
That hurts.
Well, they have. That's that's how
that shit hurt.
That's real. That's real talk, though.
That shit hurt me.
That's real.
Yeah. Ooh,
and that's what, and I'll even take it a step further. Hold on, because I think for men, since we charge it, to gender it, I know personally, I can name off the top of my head 5 grown men that it has happened to them one time, and they say, you know what? I'm never gonna marry nobody. I'm never gonna date anybody. I'm gonna just be with this shorty, or I'm just gonna wait until I'm 40, 50 to actually settle down, because it was such a breach of trust. It was such it really, really hurt them to the core. You know what I mean? And I've heard that more so from men, that they have a longer period of time from relationship to relationship, like commitment to commitment. I'll say that, when there has been a breach of that trust, and it usually comes down to cheating.
In relationships, Asia, y'all go get in relationships and
men have a longer time of doing that. Women, y'all have like options immediately.
But Brittany,
so most of the time when that's happening, like you say, it's been thought through. Whether it's women or men, it's been thought out. Like, okay, I need to plan this. Like, this is what's going on. So I understand what you're saying. It is a breach in the contract, like Lewis is saying as well. But ultimately, it is a big blow, because no matter what people want to say, you are choosing somebody else over that person in the moment.
Right.
And no matter men, women, however you look at it, it's going to make you feel insecure, because it makes you question yourself and say, wait a minute, what does this person have over me that you weren't getting? And it's not, it makes you think like that, but it also makes you think, okay, why didn't this person communicate this to me? Because if we were locked in and in a relationship, that was a part of our contract. Communicate.
So boom. And Brittany, don't think you're gonna get away with that's a man thing, because we going back to that. but I got something to say to Jay right now.
What's up?
Absolutely agree. And I'm not acting like I'm perfect and I would never do anything where I can't get cheated on. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, if we've been communicating and I've been doing my due diligence to make sure that your needs feel met and that everything you've asked of me is being done, everything that you asked of me, not things that you're not communicating to me that I am not hitting the mark on because you have not communicated those things, right? I'm not saying it would hurt my feelings. I'm not saying I wouldn't like, oh, dad, I'm not saying that. But after you process, and especially when, now, what type of cheating does matter. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you've been 6 months with your dude at work and y'all been taking lunch breaks and changing clothes and all that, then you know what I'm saying? But you don't get that reference.
All right.
You don't get that reference.
Hey, Lewis said changing clothes.
You don't get that reference.
Nah, man, that flew over my head.
Oh, okay. Extended lunch breaks, got to change clothes before you come back to work, and y'all been doing this for 6 months and stuff like that. That's different. But I just feel like if
Lewis confused for real.
Man,
that joint over there smoking.
That ain't even me. Y'all know that ain't even me. I can't even think like, I can't even put
my
mind there to think like that.
Yeah. Okay. But
I'm
not gonna send it there then. I'm not gonna send it there.
Just
yeah. But that's different. I just think that if you were doing what was meant, now the chose over me, that's the first time I ever heard that. That's vicious. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know, when you put it like that, it's like, Oh God Almighty! Because
That's what it is.
What is it though?
it is.
Ultimately,
I just
what
never
is it?
thought about it like
No,
that.
it is, but I don't. Yeah, it's like just speaking. Like I never thought about it like that ever. That hurt.
I just think if
I
you,
bet it did.
I'm just saying though, like when she said it, like the way she said it, like if you send a "Hey, how you doing?" She made it seem like a "Hey, how you doing?" text mean you in love with her. Good gracious!
Good God.
Yeah, like
I just went in the wrong bathroom. Maybe I didn't.
Hey, you chose that bathroom, Louis.
yeah,
I just
Yeah.
went in there.
You chose that bathroom.
yeah. I ain't put no tongue in her mouth.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Golly.
But Brittany, what did you mean that was a man thing? All I wanted to say. Okay, I'm listening.
I forgot what was said.
I remember. So I was saying that if I was
I was
saying
trying to
that
backpedal out of that one.
no, she's not. That's like worse than when Jay said women want a roster that day. But
It was not worse than that.
yeah, okay, but so
it's my
Brittany, what
favorite.
I was saying was like,
Thank you, Princess.
if I've been doing everything and I've been knocking every mark you asked, and it comes down to cheating, after processing, sometimes if I know I've been doing what I'm supposed to, that's not going to create an insecurity for me. Would I be upset? Would I be having conversations? Absolutely, but it may not go all the way to the point of creating an insecurity. And then you said, well, that's a man thing.
I'm
I
sorry.
think it's a man thing for the reasons that Asia said.
Right.
Asia pretty much broke it down. And I guess your take on it is from a man's point of view, the same way you and Lewis was like, wow, when she broke it down like that, like, ooh,
right, because
deep.
so that's my first time ever
It's kind of
even
proving her
hearing a
point.
reaction. Right, hearing a reaction from like seeing y'all's reaction from what Asia said. Right, it's constantly what we're thinking automatically. So insecurities for women, it's almost like an automatic, because in my brain, when I get cheated on, the first thing I'm thinking about is, what does this have over me, right? Or it's just an unnatural thing to just, there might not be anything wrong with me. Sometimes I'm like, really? You chose that over me? At least if you're gonna cheat, make her look like something. Like, don't just for my face.
Right.
So for me, it's one of those things where it's difficult. It's difficult to process that, and it does bring about insecurity. And that's why I said that might be more of a male thing, because Keenan, you were saying like that doesn't happen for you if you feel like you're checking off all the boxes. And most men feel like it ain't me. This is my first time ever seeing a reaction out of the three of you after Asia said that, where it's like, well, damn, if you put it that way, then maybe and truly it is that.
Because you want to know why? I can explain why my reaction was like that.
Yeah, and I have a question for you.
If a woman, you say that again, Princess?
I said, yeah, and I have a question for you.
Okay, all right. So like if a woman takes that, right, and y'all put it in y'all blender and y'all mix it up to what it's going to be 2 years from now, oh my God, there's no way you're coming back from that ever again. If she's sitting around feeling like you chose her, whatever y'all say to yourselves, and when we work through it, it's like, do y'all remember a long time ago about the watch thing? And y'all was like, yeah, I was being.
Yeah.
Yes, we all remember.
Yeah.
What it made me think about was, even though it didn't happen, like how that could have been internalized differently. And to me, it wasn't even a thing that was even remotely close to the severity of anything. But like when you say, no matter what you did, you chose her. If you say
what I'll say to that though, in response is like, so when because you said almost like that the woman kind of gets stuck there, right? And it'll be like a vicious thing. But the thing is, because it's so normalized for women, right? That's why. Have you ever heard like, oh, when a girl gets broken up with, she gets a promotion at her job, she gets the best body of her life, she starts going on vacations, all this kind of stuff. It's literally because it's like, no. We are that girl. We've been that girl. We're going to keep being her. You know what I'm saying? It's very rare, to be honest, that a woman gets stuck in that cycle. So it's like, it hurts. It really hurts. And then it's like a revenge thing. And that's where you have it when they start going hard for it. It's like, okay, well, if you don't see, I'm going to prove it to myself. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna make sure that I know, and that you can see that I've been her. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like we get stuck.
So I was about to say, so what's the time frame on that? Because I think that I agree with what you're saying. Some women do use that to their advantage. women and men do. They get out of relationship, they start to elevate, do different things. You know, it was a bad situation. Some people turn cold-hearted though. And I think you are naturally a good person, but now you want to protect yourself so much that it's like, I'm not letting anybody else in, like, because you breached that contract, like Luke was saying, like, some people can't come back from that. So how do y'all feel like that even though women endure a lot of pain, men do too, how do you, like, what are some things that y'all think people could do to overcome that stuff other than therapy, obviously?
Nothing. If she feel like you chose her, you done, boy. I'm telling you right now.
But that's my question for you. Are you assuming that the person is going to stay in the relationship with you? Like when you say that she's gonna stay, it's gonna be like 2 years and she's staying and it's just gonna be there in her head. Are you assuming that like she's still in the relationship with you and then like she's just kind of holding it over your head type of thing? Or are you saying she's taking that with her?
That's a great question. So the way I visualize it personally is like, there's going to be, if I did that, right, there's going to be an era of me trying to get back with her, whether she has an intent of coming back to me regardless. What I'm saying is when that goes in her mind and she finds all her evidence and she puts it in her blender and it comes out whatever smoothie that she liked the most, you're not overcoming that drink. Whatever she put it, like when that stuff goes and I'm trying to get you back, the way that was presented to me was like, I don't see a world where a woman will let you back in.
I disagree.
I'm not, so depending on the offense, like again, like I said, if you leave,
when you say the offense, like how bad, like what you mean, like how long they were cheating, or like
you leaving work, extended lunch, changing clothes, and she put like you chose her over me in that regard, because when you doing that, it's going to tie in to what Brittany was saying that women think automatically, right? Like, what type of intimate connection did y'all have? What was you doing for her that you was doing for me? What, like, where were you, like, when that time you went to go hoop, was you really hooping? Like, all those things that, like,
you was hooping. You was hooping for sure. You was hooping, my guy.
But all those things that come in their mind is like, damn. You know what I mean? Like, because this is the thing about cheating for me. Affairs are hard to like. I did like if it's in a full out blown affair, just like to Princess question, I don't see nobody coming back from that. Me personally, if it's like a one off, you know, you messed up, you are wrong, possibly, but like affairs is just like you went too deep at that point. To me,
it's an emotional investment.
Yeah, that part, yeah. You done said I love you to this nigga. You got to go. Nah, that I'm the type like this. Sex and all that bothers me way less than knowing that he has that spot in your heart like I had. That will bother me more than my lady giving it up and all that stuff. What will bother me is like, man, he got you like hold on, bro. Like, so you get on.
No, dog. I can't.
But if she just give it up, are you staying or are you leaving? If she can't give it up, are you staying or are you leaving?
Speaking of spots, I ain't having it.
You ain't having it, Lewis, right? What about
touching that spot either?
Hold on. What was the question? Say the question again.
Gotta let it go.
So if it's just, you know, sex, it's not, you know, you're saying if it's the emotional, then like
how long was this?
Not. What?
How long was it? How long was this?
How long was it going on?
Yeah.
It could be just one time.
One time. That's way easier for me to get, because the reason why
3 months. 3 months.
There's no woman that's giving it up like that where it doesn't get emotional.
For 3 months? It depends on how many times in the span of 3 months.
Give me one.
What, you hit it once a month.
But a woman also, but Princess, though, I get that, but with women though, you have to be emotionally connected to you know, get that thing up.
I would say because it could be one night, because here's the thing, right? Let's say if I'm talking on the phone though to somebody for 5 hours, 4 hours, 3 hours, you better believe at some point in that conversation, my brain started going places. My heart started like, maybe this could or this is really good conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it doesn't matter the time frame. That's my point though. It doesn't, I think it matters the quality of what happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, was it like okay, do y'all work together? So that means you see this person out on a day-to-day basis. So you're probably spending more time with them on a day-to-day basis than you are with your husband at home.
Yeah.
Nah, Asia. That means you chose him over me. You got to go.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Got to go.
I'm gonna be real. Like my answer to your question, Princess, is this. If Jokers is like Lewis said, he used a great word, emotionally invested. Yeah, that's a bit much. If you, I mean, one night off, y'all, you messed up, you came back and told me, like, cool, but like emotionally invested, and I gotta find out, like, and that's another thing.
But if it's just one night and you find out, are you not gonna hold it over her head? You ain't gonna be walking around the house like her.
You're not gonna believe me. You're not gonna believe me. So my answer to that is it's a good 30 days of that 30-day rule. You gonna get a little attitude about 30 days. You know what I'm saying? But
Lewis, what you think? Look at Lewis.
Hold on. Let me say this.
Hey, Lewis, you say what you say? 32 days, Lewis.
Man, look, yo.
Lewis said, "Hell no."
I think people talk about insecurity. Like I've been cheated on, and I think it hit my ego, and I stayed in a situation for a little bit, but it was like hard to connect with that person again. You know what I'm saying, on that level, because I mean, I could not. I'm like, I could not help but think about that person doing the same thing I'm doing, or I'm about to do. You know what I'm saying? Like as a man, like you know what I'm saying?
And they're hooping.
I'm like, how far did it go? You know what I'm saying? Like you know what I'm saying? I mean,
Hey,
but the ego, it blew the ego.
She's showing you spins.
Yeah, I'm like,
showing you dribble.
So I'm gonna say this. Like, I'm not gonna lie. When you I'm gonna tell you the three things that matter the most to me. If I found out or you told me. Secondly, what happened and where we were at when it happened. And like, does your behavior change afterwards? That would be my three. Like, but like Lewis, if you're emotionally invested in super, like if you came to me and you told me and I could tell you really, you messed up for real and you was really explaining. And then I think about, I'm reflective, I'm logical. We've said it before, like, and I could think about if we were in a bad space, if I wasn't holding up my end, whatever these things, I'm not saying left or right, but I'm saying I'm going to think about those before I'm like, you know what? She deserves some grace. You know what I mean? Because the balloon of cheating can be so crazy. Like texting a coworker after certain hours could be cheating to one person with one person not even checking for that. So you know what I mean? It's like for me, that emotional investment, I don't give a damn about none of them three things. You can go ahead and go with him.
But even
like that.
But even to that point, like I just feel like even a one time, and I'm gonna have to kind of side with the boys on this one, because I feel like one time for me, let me talk about myself. For me and the personality that I have, I will never allow myself to get to a point one time with a man to disrespect my husband like that. That's just me. Or even a boyfriend in the past. I just couldn't find myself to cheat because I'll come home crying, telling on myself. Like that's just who I am. Right?
Yeah.
I feel like there's automatically an emotional tie with somebody, whether it's one time or whether it's 5 times. It just doesn't. Women are less likely to do like a one night stand. Like, no, there was some sort of conversation that sparked your attention for this man. It wasn't just, oh, I got drunk and I fell on him. Like, no, y'all had to have some sort of conversation, right? Like, I mean, Asian and Princess, correct me if I'm wrong, but I just feel like women put a little more thought into things or connections with men, because we just not out here giving our body, women that respect themselves. Let me say that. We're not just out here giving our bodies to any and everybody. So for us to like we know whether we're in a bad space or a good space at home, I just kind of feel like you got to think about it a little more as a woman than a man can be like, y'all could instantly disconnect from that situation and just happen to get one off and come back home and have a conversation, whatever.
Hey, Lewis, why are you shaking your head, bro?
I don't know. I just feel like it's harder to do that.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Brittany. But the point, to my point, I agree. But I feel like because men know that about women, that's the reason why most times when a woman cheats, the man is absolutely not going to stay because he knows that it took a little bit more thought and effort for her to do that versus a woman. She could be cheated on, and then it's kind of like, you know, those other things like, you know, he maybe just hit it one time, and then, you know, it's not a big deal, but it's not so much of an emotional attachment.
Right.
I'm not gonna cap. That's exactly it. Because remember, a long time ago, Princess, you were saying how, like, what if women just wanted, if you all were out one night, what if you just wanted to get it in, or like we just wanted to, y'all remember, it was a long time ago. The point I was trying to make is the point you just made. And what Brittany just said, certain women, and I will assume the caliber of woman that we would commit to, can't no nigga just smile at you and be like, oh yeah, it's you. You know what I'm saying? So like he had to put in a little more work to get that. Ain't nobody just winking and like, oh yeah, these draws off. Like,
you trying to hoop today?
Yeah, it's
like, you know what I'm saying? Like next thing you know, you in the gym.
So to that same point, women can be like that. But women that move a certain way, that have certain standards, I'm not saying they can't want to get it in, but there's going to be some conversation or some filling out had before said person gets that. That's why I was like, he must have really slapped me in the face with $100,000 or something. Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, it's wild out here. So I gotta know those things. And so if nobody has this is a great transition into my next thing. Perfect. Had this conversation this weekend. Let's say a cheating thing happens, right? Somebody cheats, and if somebody cheats or does something wrong, and it takes a while, and the other person forgives them, how long can that thing be a thing after they've said they've forgiven them? Do they have the right to continuously be triggered years down the line, even though you've changed your behavior, you've apologized, you've done everything they asked after you did said thing? What's the window where you still can be paying for that?
Can I step in right here? Because I'll just kind of talk about my experience again, like this previous situation that I was in. And when I decided to go back, you know, I wasn't ready or prepared, or I didn't deal with what it took place. So I couldn't get over it. You know what I mean? So I think when you accept, when you let that person know you accept them, and I think, but if you're married, I feel like that would be hard, right? Because like if you are a husband or a wife and you have a family, you have a home, you can't just leave. Like maybe you could leave, but that disrupts that disrupts your life and also the lives of others as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I think if you say you're ready to forgive someone and you've decided, if you made it clear what your intentions are, whether you're going to stay or not, it's hard to say that you cannot bring that up, because again, I think it depends on the scenario, bro. I really do. How deep, how committed a relationship is, a marriage, it's a boyfriend, girl. Like it's hard to, and where you are and maturity level wise, like I think it really varies, man. I do. Because I'm sitting here thinking from a marriage perspective, that would be really hard to, that'd be tough, man. Because you may be just there and being present.
But you said you forgave the person though.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. What's that?
So even if you forgive a person, that doesn't necessarily mean restoration, reconciliation, right? So it just means you can be like, you know what, you did the thing. It just, you did the thing. I can now accept that you did this thing, right? But it doesn't mean that it's gonna, it's acceptance really, but it doesn't mean that it's restoring, let's say, the marriage, right? Because, I think to your question, Keenan, though, I think the discussion would have to be, the conversation within that relationship would have to be, what is the goal? Is the goal restoration? Because then that means if we're working to restore the marriage or to restore the relationship, then there has to be a certain cutoff point. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, you could forgive me, but then we also have to work towards restoration. But if the goal is not restoration, then we need to figure out what divorce looks like. We need to figure out, because if we cannot reconcile, because that's literally what the judge asked in divorce court, right? It's like, can this marriage be reconciled? If it cannot, then it's like, okay, cool. Then y'all are going to get a divorce. But because I think people get this forgiveness thing really like, forgiveness does not mean that, and people say it all the time, forgiveness don't mean you forget, you know what I'm saying? But forgiveness really is you accept what happened
but it does not mean you're ready to reconcile.
Okay,
because it has to change.
You forgive and stay, Asia. Mm-hmm. You forgive and stay. How long can that said thing still be a thing?
If I've made the decision to forgive
and stay,
and I've made the decision to stay, then it would be unfair for me to then bring it up, because why would I stay?
Okay, but it has to change. But it has to change the course of the relationship. Like that person.
Yes, things still need to things still will change, but that doesn't mean that every time I get into an argument with you, I'm bringing it up.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Because that's what I'm saying. No, because if I'm making a decision to stay, it will be miserable for me. Yep. Miserable that would be in the back of my mind every day, and I'm making the choice to stay. No, I'm making the choice to be miserable.
So, Katie, what do you mean by thing, right? Because sometimes I feel like, and I mean, just taking out a cheating spectrum, like if you make a mistake or you do something that is significant as cheating, and you guys are en route to repair, there are things that you have to establish, boundaries you have to establish, like, hey, all right, I'm no longer going to do this, or I'm not going to associate with these type of friends or these type of people. And sometimes the person who cheated may think that said party is trying to make it a thing when they're saying, hey, no, these are the boundaries, right? And that may remind the person who actually made the act, make them feel like they're constantly being reminded, but that person is saying, hey, these are the boundaries that I need in order to feel comfortable to move along. You know what I'm saying? So when you say thing, it's a difference between someone saying they forgave you and then they're bringing it up in spite or to put you down. But it's different if that person says, hey, moving forward, these are the boundaries. And now that person has to change the construct of their lives and adhere to that in order to, stay and resolve, which is the new way of moving forward. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. And I feel like to piggyback off what you were saying, Louis, I agree with that 100%. It's going to change. It's going to look different. But I think once you accept it and say, hey, I choose to stay here, this is what we're going to do, whatever it looks like, even though it's going to look different, you're not only accepting that, but you're also trying to figure out different ways of saying the person, like, for example, you saying that person is bringing it up, right? It could be a form of them bringing it up. If you're mature in your mindset and whether it's a person that cheated or not cheated, if you're both trying to reconcile, it's not going to look like it's being something that's being brought up because you're working towards that common goal. It's only going to look like that to a person that's not ready to reconcile.
Gotcha.
Because now mentally it's like, instead of just saying, hey, I don't want to work on this. And that's not saying that a person will ever forget that, because I think, I don't know if Brittany was saying this, I think it's going to stick with that person for the rest of their life. Like,
forever.
Me personally.
Forever.
Because it was a breach in
you can't, sorry, not to cut you off, but you can't, I feel like there is, Keenan, back to answer your question, like you can't do that. Like if you're saying that I forgive you, right? You're not allowed, in my mind, you're not allowed to bring it back up, because again, to everybody's point, like you decided to say, there could be the Geico commercial can come on and you could be easily triggered because he explains to you that girl had on lizard drawers, and now you just see the Geico lizard.
Wait a minute, lizard drawers is crazy.
He went for the wild joke.
Yo. Hey, Steve, Keenan, you gotta pin that right now. That's
funny.
Hey, I'm clipping that tonight.
Good.
But I'm serious. Like commercials can trigger you, songs, music can trigger, anything can trigger you, right? So I can easily say I forgive, I can accept, I can try and work this thing out. We can go through this whole process of rebuilding our marriage, whatever. But the minute I hear Janet Jackson and it's like, oh, hold on, that was a song that was playing when I found out, or that was a song that y'all was using when it's a trigger, and then instantly my emotions change, my feelings change. I'm taken back to this place. It's almost like trauma. I'm taken back to this place where I don't want to be in. So can you fully move with the person? I think you have to, again, like Jay said, mental maturity, or whoever said it, you have to be in a mature place in your mental space to be able to come to grips with yourself, right? Be real with yourself and say, yes, I can, or no, I can't. And then from that point on, you're not allowed to bring it up. If it comes up for you, if you get triggered, you better go handle that on your own, because it's not fair to the person that's been putting in the same amount of work to move past this with you, because you decided to stay and try and work these things out. You really need to take a break for yourself.
Louis?
Yeah. Man, I just kind of thinking, I done got triggered. Hearing this conversation, I done put myself back in my 19-year-old shoes.
Yeah.
Was
So
it the
as
lizard
I'm
draws
hearing-
or what was it for you?
Okay, hold on.
Jay, that's wild.
The song thing, because it triggered for me. I started kind of trail of thoughts, but like for me, I'm just speaking on my experience. I don't mind being vulnerable and put myself out there, because that was one of the best situations to ever happen to me, because it taught me how selfish I needed to be, right? How much it taught me to really care about myself and not put so much all into one person. So it was necessary. But and hoes gonna be hoes, so I couldn't blame Tammy. So my thing is,
Yeah.
hey, I learned that from Lil Wayne. So, but the thing is, like, I felt when people would say that to me, I feel like, well, why are you protecting this person, right? Like, why? I feel like when we're saying these things, we're trying to protect the person that hurt. Nigga, you hurt me. That shit hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm sitting here and like, all right, oh, now I got to go deal with these emotions on my own when I did absolutely nothing to deserve the treatment that you thrust upon me or someone else.
Yeah.
Right? So double entendre. But the thing is, the thing is,
yo, Lucas is crazy.
It
He
is
in his bag tonight. Told you.
But the thing is, like that, I did feel that way. I'm like, why the hell are you being protected? You know what I'm saying? And I get it. Like when you accept it, you trying to move on, but hell, I'm human.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I might have a moment where I'm like, yo, I can't believe this. I can't believe, you know what I mean? You did this.
What,
like, you know what I'm saying?
This what, Lewis? Can't believe this what?
I can't believe it, man.
Can't
I'm
believe
corporate, brother. I'm corporate, brother.
You out here hooping with lizard draws on? Can't believe you, girl.
I'm corporate. I'm too corporate now, brother. But yeah, man, I can't believe it. I can't believe it, man. Like for real, like I'm sitting here thinking, like I'm hearing this. I'm like, yeah, but y'all trying to protect. You trying to protect this person? They the one that made the mistake.
But I love that you're saying that. But you have to understand, this is in the context that you decided to stay.
Damn.
Yeah, because my thing is this: at that point, if they hurt you that bad,
gotta go,
and you still decide to stay, you're torturing yourself.
Yep.
You're torturing yourself because you're putting yourself in an environment to have these trauma reminders. Because if it really hurts you that bad, you will walk away.
But how do you know how bad? You don't know how bad anything hurts you.
That when that's yes, you do. When that song comes on,
if you listen to what you just said, Lewis, you know how bad it hurts.
I do now as a 30. Hold on, time. I do now as a 33-year-old man.
Mm-hmm.
I do now, but as a night, but
okay.
I didn't. As a night, I didn't. You know
I think sometimes you don't know the magnitude. I do think sometimes you don't know the magnitude, but I do think that you know when something feels good and when something does not feel good. I think you know when you feel betrayed and when you don't feel betrayed. I think you know when you're questioning, do they really love me? And if they're saying it, if you tend to question then everything that they're doing after, it's having an impact on you. You might not know that it's hurting per se, but you know that it's having a negative impact on you. The way you see yourself, the way you see the relationship, the way you see other people.
For sure.
You
know what I mean?
Let me
that part you will know.
That's true.
That's true. But let me ask a question to you, Lewis, because that you made a good point. Being that young, in that moment, if you do decide to stay, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you ask yourself, what are the reasons that you decided to stay, right? Were you trying to stay because you felt like that was the right thing to do?
No, it was because of me. I didn't care enough about myself, or I didn't really, I was afraid.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I invested so much in y'all got me thinking.
Yeah, no, we don't have to get too personal.
I am because it can help somebody, brother. Like I'm in a good place now, but it got me emotional because I'm thinking about my boy Keenan, because they, you know what I'm saying? Like the time I met y'all, you know what I mean? You too, Jay, in my life, like I was, I didn't really have enough people backing me in my life. You know what I'm saying? And giving me guidance. So I would lean and pour it and hold on so heavy to whoever I was in a relationship with, right? And I was in a small town and I never thought that I could see beyond where I was. You know what I'm saying? So that goes back to the security and insecurity parts of it. I use that, a part of that as my identity. So letting that go, right, would then be me forcing to create or accept a new identity for myself, which was very difficult to do. So I stayed because I thought that was what I had to do, and I'd accepted that was going to be, what my life was going to be moving forward, or who I was going to be with in my life moving forward. So, and that, but I feel like when you maybe then I felt like it. When you committed to something, that's just what you did, right? Like you commit, I'm gonna do this. This is what I'm gonna do. You know what I'm saying? But I do think that, and the reason I said being selfish, I think you do have to value oneself and your own well-being, much to what you guys are saying. And I didn't have an established value of myself at that time.
So we had somebody, we had somebody say, as men, we think that we can tolerate that pain sometimes. We also had somebody say, if you're that easily triggered, then you need therapy over it. Meaning if the leopard draws or the lizard draws, quick.
Now he throwing leopard in here.
You need therapy over it. And as men, we think that we can tolerate that pain sometimes. So I can put it to this, right? The person I was with at the end of high school, before I went to college, before I met my wife, like, you young, like that's really right before, I went to college and everything. I think is this. I think for me, it wasn't necessarily a feeling of cheat. It wasn't cheating or nothing like that. But like once I understood what like being in a cyclical situation felt like, the torture, as Asia say, of like cyclical behaviors to me, I came into my relationship and marriage now like, yeah, I ain't never doing that again. So if you go down that road and it starts to feel like that and you ain't trying to fix that, I said that up front. Like, hey, I'm this feeling, this whatever, you know what I mean? Woo woo. I ain't never doing that again. And if it get like that, I'm out. Like it ain't. So to the other side of that is like, we really in high school and college, when you were that age, like cheating is more of a like, oh my God, I can't believe it happened. And then when you get older, life starts to happen. You start noticing and feeling different ways about yourself. It holds more weight because we're probably already self-conscious about some things. And then the cheating things happen, and then it has a higher threshold if we don't find ourselves first. So to Lewis's point, I'm more likely to be like, when I was that age, if I was young, I'm gonna figure out how it made me feel, why it happened, and I'm gonna tell the next person, if I can't handle it, I'm gonna go into the next thing. Like, if this happened, I'm out. Like, I'm gonna take it straight up. So, like, my wife told me when we was 19, like, if you ever have a baby on me, you don't even need to talk to me. But I know if that happens, they don't need to even talk. I'm not even gonna try to get back in there. You know what I mean? I think that's I ain't even all right. But
well, you also got to think too, though, that a lot of things when you are younger, because I was in a relationship young too, and all this stuff. Everybody know that. So it's just about knowing how to set those boundaries. When you young, you just thinking about you love this person, you see him, you attracted to him. Even if you get married young, because I got married young as well. But when you get older, you understand the significance of boundaries. And like you said, what you'll tolerate and what you won't tolerate. And I think that's what we have to realize. That's what protects us. Those boundaries is what protects us. And if those boundaries are violated and you have a person that's not willing to, fix behavior, an apology is nothing without changed behavior. So I hate when people just, they apologize. I don't care. If it's not changed behavior behind it, it's not an apology.
Yeah.
Because people are only going to do what you allow. And that's straight up.
That's true.
At the end of the day, if they don't have that change behavior, it's over with.
And this is to what we talking about now, to Princess, what you asked me earlier, right? Like 10 times out of 10, I'm gonna get more pissed off that you had me doing all this stuff and you was out there doing that. I'm probably gonna get more mad at that than I am about what you was doing. Like, you got me like, hold on. I'm putting in top tier effort doing all this, and you
buying leopard draws and everything.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm whining and dining. I'm doing all this. I done figured out exactly what you want, what you need, and I'm sticking and moving, spending extra. And then you getting thrashed out during lunch, changing clothes.
Why do you have to change clothes? Why do you have to change clothes?
Why do you have to change clothes? Does it require
does it require
you coming home in a different outfit? Like,
you're not hosting a TV show, man. You're not hosting a TV show.
So no, Lewis.
Hey, why just get offended?
It's just funny that y'all held on to that.
I was going to ask him after the call. I was going to try to figure out what was going on
about changing clothes.
Yeah, I don't know what
because you went to go hoop after work.
Yeah, you went to go hoop. Yeah.
So you don't.
You hoop. You keep your bag in the car, right, Lewis?
Huh?
said, huh? Not like that, bro. I'm saying, you know how when you go in the hoop, bro, you keep a bag in the car. You got your gym shorts, everything.
I just come home, though.
Come on, Lord.
Hey, Louis. So,
you
the point I'm making?
What?
At this point in my life, to answer your question, I'm gonna get more pissed off about the effort and what I'm putting in than I probably would about the actual event. Like,
but then you letting them. But wait, man, you say that, but you letting them dictate that. Why don't you just accept that under the agreement you did what you wanted to do, and that because they chose to not honor that agreement didn't affect what you did because that's who you are as an individual. You know what I'm saying? Like I
agree. I'm still gonna be mad.
You can be mad about it. No, I'm not saying that. But like we were talking about, I guess a premise of the conversation was allowing what someone else did to affect how you view or what you view about yourself. But it's like, yeah, like maybe that thought goes in your head as a human, but it's like, hey, that's just who I am. Like I chose to be this way because I chose to love what I thought or be with who I thought was this person. So I don't regret it. You were the one that wasn't what you said you were. But I'm real. I was who I was going to be or said I was going to be the whole time. You know what I mean? I'm not going to feel bad about that.
So would you put all your money into a company who you know stock is going to fall?
Bro, I'm not even going to entertain that analogy because I'm not going to do that. Why would I? How does that relate to what we're talking about?
Because if I invested all this time and all this effort, and the contract part is true, but what I'm saying is like, and this goes back.
Okay, hold on, talking about. So yeah, let's do that. You talking to a money man? If I'm going to invest in a company,
I thought you were entertaining.
I'm going to do time out. No,
I'm saying I thought you were entertaining. Now you time out.
No.
Time out.
Hold on, listen. If I'm going to invest in a company,
actually, Louis,
I figured out a way to prove my point. I figured out a way to prove my point while you was talking.
I don't want to listen.
Go ahead. It's your show.
No, you go.
I'm just leaving it.
You go.
Hey.
You're going to tell me I ain't going to entertain it and yell at me.
It's your will. Yeah, man, because I'm sitting here thinking, you telling me if I invest in a company, all right, cool. If I invest in a company, I'm gonna do my due diligence. But if that company chooses to be to suck at the end of the day, hey, I missed it. But I did, and I followed these principles that I've always followed that have led me to be successful. It's just this time I got. Same thing in a relationship. This is who I choose to be in this relationship. I was who I said I was going to be, but that person chose not to. It is what it is. I did my due diligence. I just lost.
Does that mean you can't get pissed off?
I said you could, my brother. I said that already.
But that's all I was saying. Like,
he was agreeing, saying you can get pissed off. Yeah. He's saying instead of looking at it in that angle of like, oh, but I did. Basically, you did what you were supposed to do. You upheld your end of the bargain.
You did.
You can be pissed off about the action that happened to you, but don't be mad at yourself for being true to who you were.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm not gonna be mad at myself. I'm gonna be mad at that. I ain't gonna be mad at myself. I'm gonna be mad at them.
But why be mad at them, bro? Why be mad at them for you doing what you were supposed to do?
You're gonna be mad at them.
Yeah, okay.
There's no way somebody's
I'm not.
That.
I think you're. So let me ask a question, Lou. I'm sorry.
You said there's no way that somebody's gonna not be mad, Princess.
Yeah, like I don't care how much I know. Like, oh yeah, I was doing everything right, and that's just a decision they decide to make on their own. If we're in a relationship, I'm finna be mad. Like, are you what? like, I don't care how much I know I'm doing right. No, we got a problem.
But like, okay, maybe I took what he said as like offense. Like, man, if I would have known, I would have done differently, right?
No,
maybe that's the way I took it.
I'm saying why, like, if you had interest elsewhere, without telling me, approaching me, no communication, no nothing, you're gonna omit. Obviously, ain't nobody just walk around saying, hey, I'm thinking about cheating, but like, you're gonna allow me to still honor that contract that you spoke about, knowing you deceiving me. Like, what? Hold on. So you going like you knew that that we're doing all these things, I'm being me, I'm talking to you, I'm asking you, I'm rapping with you, I'm making sure everything is cool, and then that happens. I'm going to be more pissed off that like you wasn't cool enough to be like, oh, you know what? Like, this ain't working out, or do whatever you said. You're gonna let me keep giving the effort, thinking one thing, and you really, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That will make me more mad than the actual.
Yeah.
Like, no, like, Nah, boy, nah. But
he got
go,
mad now. Look.
Yeah, he mad.
Because you want to know what it is. This goes back to the single thing earlier.
I feel what you're saying.
This goes back to the single thing earlier. If you could not talk about it, not be around it, but if you could go into the actual thoughts or work that it takes to make a relationship healthy, you have to be a dishonorable person for someone that's actually putting in that work to go do them like that after the work has already been put in.
Because that's facts.
I'm gonna be real. Explaining, I got a homeboy, I ain't gonna say no names. Recently, he was asking me about like marriage, you know what I'm saying? Woo, da da da. And he'll ask me something and it'll be a scenario. I'm like, oh yeah, no, bro, don't do that. He's like, why? I'm like, boy, you trying to have the house blown up when you walk through the door. But men can be so simple-minded in their singleness, not thinking about how you can, something like this is going to go like that. So as I'm explaining, he's starting to feel like, damn, do I even want to get married? And I'm telling him like, bro, as you grow, you realize the shit you do now is not that deep later. It's just not worth even doing. Certain, like, if you say you're going to check in at 9:30, don't be like, it's only 10 o'clock. Bro, no, just call it 9:30. Whether you plan on doing the same thing you was going to do, call, man, I'm out. Like, I ain't think about that. It ain't that deep. She know where I'm at. Call.
Yeah.
Like, so when you try to explain the work or the thought processes of being married to a single person, it could be off-putting because they haven't met the person they're willing to do that work for yet. When they haven't met that person, it's like, why would I want to do all that? Oh, marriage seems miserable. No, it's not that. When you meet that person, you're willing to do that. And are we done? Are we off cheating?
Yeah, that was good, preacher.
So to close out the night, this was another thing that I wanted to speak on about as far as relationships. When do you always have to accept somebody of evolving or changing in any type of relationship? So when that person makes a change, that person is evolving. Out of respect for and love for that person, do you always have to accept that person and maintain a relationship with them, even if they're changing for the better, but it may not be your cup of tea anymore? Relationship wise,
I don't have to accept nothing.
Yeah.
You don't have to accept nothing from nobody. I don't care what kind of change. That change may be good for you, but it's not good for me. So congratulations to you, but you don't have to. People change every day. We evolve every single day, right? Sure. So like 2 years from now, look at us from the last time we spoke to right now. Hey y'all, by the way, I had every intention on coming on here with my last name changed. Never mind, I'm gonna bring that up another. Anyway,
Lord have mercy.
So okay.
Lewis, go get the gym bag.
Yeah, go get. Hey, look, go get the leopard draw.
What?
Princess, go get the draws.
Y'all stressing me out on here, boy.
Hey, we back, we back, Lewis. We back.
No,
Lord have mercy. What the hell is going on?
You don't have to accept people for the change or the space that they're in as they're going through their process. That's just like my friends. I'll use me as an example. My daughter is not from my husband. It's from a previous relationship, right?
Okay.
Back then, me and him we were not on the same page. He wasn't it, and I'll leave it at that. But now my daughter's 7, she's turning 8. That was 8 years ago when we did what we did. I'm married, he's married, we're whatever. He's changed as a human being to step up to the plate so we can co-parent together, right? Okay. I can accept him for where he's at. While he was changing though, at 3 and 4 and 5, I didn't have to accept what he was giving to me. He was going through that change for himself. That doesn't mean I have to let him in my space because that's cute. Okay, when you're done, when you're ready, come to me and we can talk about just what it is that we need to talk about. So to your point, Ken, no, I don't feel like you have to accept people as they're going through their growth process. Just acknowledge it, yeah, but you don't have to accept anything.
Anybody else want to say about it?
And you're saying while you're in a relationship, right? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I asked the question.
No, I was just, yeah, Princess asked the question.
Yeah.
I said, you're saying while you're in a relationship, right? And somebody is choosing to grow.
So in all facets, and I'm gonna give a little more to give a little more context, right? So yes, I was also speaking in the manner in which Brittany responded. But another way is like, you know, does someone changing around you growing, should that be a reflection point at somebody you're close to? So whether that be a spouse, your friend, a close sibling, close family member, when they're growing, is that a reflection of you not doing the same? And if not, instead of cutting that person off, does that sometimes cause you to look at yourself and say, hey, hold on, maybe I need to be not doing the same thing, but looking for a different way about things, or do when people change, they change, and it just is what it is. You ain't got to accept that you do, because everybody doesn't grow at the same rate. You know what I mean? So like, as people are growing, is that sometimes a reference point for us to check ourselves and see what we got going on, and if that is something that we may need to look at within ourselves, or is it like, people change on their own accords, I'm out? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
It does.
Yeah, it does.
It does. I use my brother, I'm a twin. I use my brother as a barometer for change for me. You know what I mean? We're the same age, very similar in where we are in life, and I use that as a barometer. I think you should have people who have the capacity to grow, and people who know how to grow and understand, that there are nuances and variances in your lifestyle and what you may want out of life and what they may want. But it's okay to be influenced and to grow based on the growth of people who you maybe value value as human beings, and in certain and in key areas as well. But I think it's inevitable, right? We're all going to change. The woman I married 11 years ago is different than the woman that's here now. And I'm okay with that way. We've grown together, and I'm sure, the next 40, 50, I told her I'm giving her 50 years. So I think when we're 73, I'm gonna let her go. So
you might as well stay in, bro.
49.
Might as well stay in.
The next 49, the next 39 years, I'm sure that, at the end of that journey, she's going to be a different woman as well. But I think it's impossible to know what you're willing to accept or what you're not until you're in the situation.
Yeah.
Okay. Me personally, I feel like if we're close, like super close, your change is more of a reflection point for me, because I don't feel like the people I'm close to, we might not be on the same paths, but our journeys are near of where we're trying to go. So like, if I see something that you're doing differently that may benefit you, I may not be going to go look for the same thing, but I'm going to say like, hey, you stopped doing said thing, and you started doing this thing that really helped you do this. I'm more the type like, damn, let me try to find, like, maybe I need to find an outlet, or I need to find a release that will help me perform over here better. With people close to you, I know y'all gonna be like, it's a kind of absolute, but not an absolute. I just believe when you're really close and locked in, even let's say friendships, right? Like there's been times where I haven't spoken to Lewis for a year, but because we're on the same journey and not on the same path, like him changing and me changing is a conversation, and like, damn, I never thought about that, or a reflection point to say said thing. You know what I mean? And like when people always go like this at the very note of somebody changing, I feel like personally it's somebody not willing to allow that person to change, and then it got to become like, that's not me, da. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So with people close to me, like I use my wife, motherhood, most beautiful change I've seen. And from a very small point, that means a lot. Emotional patience, meaning like the same stuff that used to piss her off don't piss her off no more. It just don't. It's like, like you do things at a different level, right? Or you try to work harder, but once upon a time, you had to do those plus more. But now that it's like kids make you think of the cycle of life and where you are psychologically. So when you learn them and the emotional patience, it's like it just ain't the same level of pissed off no more. Like it's going to take a lot for that emotion to come up because like in reality, all the things that are being looked at are looked at through a different lens than it was when those little lies were here. So I told my wife to her face, like, you either really content or you don't give a fuck no more. It got to be one of the two.
Damn.
Like straight up. Because a woman that is satisfied, that allows, it's almost like a woman that don't care and a woman that's super satisfied, both don't care what you do. So you got to figure out which side of the spectrum you want, to me.
That's powerful. I agree with that.
That is, say it again.
So
that's powerful.
A woman that don't care about you at all, a woman like that, like I don't even care to be here, whatever, and a woman that's super satisfied, both allow you to do whatever you want. So you want to make sure that you're on the side of fulfilling her needs to the point where it's like, oh, I'm good, go. Versus like, yeah, go do whatever. I ain't gonna be here too long. They both allow you to do whatever you want. So
that is very true.
That is good. That's good.
That was good, bro.
It took 2 hours for him to say something like that, yo.
I'm telling you.
Hey, Lewis, it's only been 30 minutes for you. You was late.
You're right. I knew when to show up, baby.
I had to learn that. I had to learn that because once upon a time, I'm gonna say insecurity. You'll ask, and a dude's mind go like, "Where am I messing up, bro?" Like, here we go. Like, what I do, and after a while, you be like, "Damn, she ain't tripping on the same stuff no more." I did a little more, but I ain't like, oh damn. I told her, she was like, "Oh no, it's content." It's like, "Oh bet." So I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, stay on the same like. But I learned that because I seen some people be on the other end. But people close to you changing, to me, is a point of reflection. I'm gonna say that. To me, when they not really in your circle of things, because wouldn't you feel the vibrations of somebody close to you changing? Like you would feel that, and it would like affect your life in a sense. So I feel like you do got to accept them changing, but you also got to reflect and say, is there a change I need to make or something that I need to see in order to maintain this relationship? Because people close to you matter.
I think that's the key. I think that's exactly what it is, maintaining a relationship and how close that person is to you. Because let me tell you, there's some people that I thought were very, very close to me that are no longer in my life, right?
Sure.
And it's because of the change that I did not accept from them. We were in two different paths of life. Have kids, they said, and see where your friends go. Get married, see where your friends go, like your real friends go. That's so a lot of things happen where it's like, okay, yeah, you're changing and you may be evolving or doing certain things, but that does not align with the path and the journey that I'm on. And I'm close to you. So I had to let you go, right? We're in two different spaces. There's no love lost. We're not aligned in life. So I feel like the key thing that you said is maintaining, if you want to maintain a relationship and what that looks like to you, and then how close you are to the person, if they're even worth kind of like doing a self-reflection check and seeing if it aligns with your own personal values and whatever it is else you got going on in life.
Sure. Jay, Asia, Princess, your thoughts?
No, I just agree with everything that you're like. Yeah, yeah.
Me too.
I agree with everything that Brittany just said. No, that was pretty spot on.
All right, that's a big bet. Well, hey man, we're gonna end it there. Millennials versus the world. Appreciate everybody checking in with us, man.